Welcome back to the BookEnds YouTube channel. I'm James McGowan.
Hi, I'm Jessica Faust.
We are literary agents who have taken our popular blog to YouTube to discuss all things publishing. And today we are discussing my least favorite thing ever. I hate this question. I hate answering this question. I hate the frequency in which I'm asked this question. But how do you
And
query?
he's bitter, people. He is bitter.
It's just like I feel like there's no right answer. But how do you
There's not.
query when you're writing multiple genres? I get it a lot in picture books because a lot of picture book authors are working on a middle grade or a YA, or YA authors are also doing adult. And
But it depends on a million
a
different
million things.
things.
I hate this question, but we're gonna try and answer it in the best, most shareable with your friends way, so that this is the first and last time we ever have to do it. Pin it.
Honestly, even if we do a crappy job, people, we're not coming back to this one.
No, I'm not a fan of this question. Anyway, we get a lot of comments, is basically what I'm saying. A lot of your comments asking how to go about querying when you write in several different age groups or several different genres. The questions are always, do you query multiple agents? Do you have to find out if that agent represents all things at the same time? Can you query them both at the same time?
I'm exhausted.
I'm exhausted. So, okay, my opinion, my firm opinion is the truth is that it will always be easier to query one book at a time.
Mhm.
As we have mentioned on this channel a bajillion times, querying
Mhm.
is not a fun process. It's a lot of work physically, mentally, emotionally. And when you're doing it for multiple books, it's all consuming. Just gonna go ahead and say that.
And I would also say, with the exception of picture books, they are always the exception, mostly.
Yeah.
By the time you finish writing that next book and you're ready to query it, you should be pretty much through the course. If you haven't found an agent with the first book, should probably pretty much assume, even with how slow people are, that you're done querying. You might have queries out there that you're waiting for answers on, but I would assume that you could probably be in a place where you have nobody else that you really need to be querying on that first book, and it's time to focus on the second. Do you think I'm wrong on that?
No, I actually want to say to that point, if you're writing picture books, I think you're completely excused from this conversation until the end where I get a little more clear on it, because I think it's very different. A lot of picture book authors query multiple books at the same time.
Yeah.
But listen to the whole thing if you're writing multiple genres. But no, I think you're dead on. I mean, it's just easier to focus on one book at a time, though.
I also think you're not going to get yourself into a sticky.
Yeah.
And I also think
Well,
that,
what would be a sticky?
so if I have, let's say, a middle grade out there and an adult romance novel, and I'm querying them both at the same time, and I get two different offers, I need to now make a decision, where do I want my career to go? Because I think it's super tricky to say to two different agents, I'm going to accept pretty much at the same time two different offers of representation. I'm going to spread myself thin while you try to give me your full attention.
Yep. And
And
also,
mhm,
you made the point of choosing which direction your career goes in, but while there are agents out, like once you sign an agent, you're hitting the ground running. Like you're starting to work on something, and you're pulling yourself in all these different directions. And I
yeah,
don't think that's thought about enough. Like a career has to start somewhere. It can't start in 7 different places.
yeah.
So,
But let's be honest, the truth is that's probably not going to happen. It just doesn't.
right.
Most authors who build their career on multiple genres do so over time after they start having a publishing career. It's not likely that you have written multiple things in multiple different genres that are going to get you multiple agents and multiple publishing deals, because you're too thin. You don't have a focus, and it just really doesn't happen historically.
Yeah. I thought I had something to add, but I just don't. I don't. But I think if you are, I always try to encourage people to bring it down to one book and really focus on that one book, because you're giving all of your creative and strategic attention to it. But also, presumably speaking, if you're writing novels, by the time you have finished that first book,
Yeah.
have been active enough on your queries that you have a sense of where that book is going to go.
Yeah.
Not, I mean, unless you're a super fast writer and you're just exceeding expectations of how long it will take to write that book, you can start to have a good sense of the querying layout for that first book. I mean,
Yeah.
and then decide, do I do another round? Do I send it out to more people while I revise? Or do I just shift focus and work on the next thing. Um,
The
go ahead.
other the other sticky is when you first presented this question, you presented an imaginary author who was writing all for children. So middle grade, let's say picture book, YA, something like that. You're going to be hitting the same agents.
Oh, and when you have an agent, the same editors. It can be super confusing to have 3 different agents pitching the same author to the same editors.
But different things. And what everybody's going to want to know is, well, what do you want to do?
Mm,
Because I can't be pitching 2 different genres for you, 2 different age groups. I have a career I want to build. And selling, let's go all the way there, a middle grade and a YA at the same time, where are you building your audience? Where are you building your career? Even your relationship with bookstores and Salesforce, who are like, well, I have this YA author. Oh, they're also a middle grade author. No, they don't really have numbers in one or the other because they haven't built an audience. And that audience doesn't necessarily cross over. They grow from one to the other, but they don't cross over.
oh, that's a really good point. It's a really good point.
So,
So you can tell we don't really love this. But also, I think I also want to pose the question to think about, like Jessica was saying earlier, you're separating yourself and your focus, and you're asking for an agent to give all of their focus. And that's a hard thing to do. It's a hard thing for us to track when you have moving parts on this side of the field that we can't even see. I personally am not a huge fan of it. I think it is limiting and difficult unnecessarily and confusing.
yeah, I've had authors over the years ask me, well, I want to write 2 things. Can I get a second agent? I don't like that. And I may release you from the contract if you're really adamant about it, primarily because it's really hard for me to manage a career, to negotiate contracts, to deal with dates, due dates, and things like that if somebody else is doing it on the other end. It's a juggling act. And it's a juggling act as it is. If I have to talk to different editors, let's say you're writing YA and you've got 2 different publishers, and I have to coordinate contract language with your due dates, with publishing schedules. Those are 3 hugely different things, but I only have half the story. You're going to get in trouble.
Mhm.
Like your option clauses might conflict. Your publication dates might conflict. It could be a really tricky situation when you don't have one person who can manage all ends of it.
Yeah, and we're not saying it doesn't happen. There are definitely people that do it. I just would say that those people are not us. I also want to address the elephant in the room. Sometimes if you're doing this, writing across different genres and age groups and adamant about following all of these possible opportunities, it shows a lack of focus in your writing too. Sometimes your writing suffers from it. And I think that's something to keep in mind. I think I am a fan of building a brand and then developing it further rather
Yeah.
than trying to build 7 different brands at one time.
Yeah.
So I think it's crucial to know where you want to start because everybody does have a starting point.
And one good thing to note is we have a ton of authors at BookEnds who have branched out, who have switched genres, who have written in different things and gone in different directions. We're not saying that's not possible.
Mhm.
We're just saying that early on, to be putting your eggs in 40 different baskets can be tough for you to have the focus. The other thing is, if you're switching around, in my mind, I think it's really hard to hone your craft. I think it's really hard to fully understand your abilities and your skill level and what makes great YA if you write one YA but then jump to adult suspense and then flip over to picture books. You might be making yourself a better writer, but you're not better in your particular craft.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. With all of that said, though, if you do have aspirations to write in different genres and age groups, I always suggest bringing that up on the offer call with any and every agent. I think it's worth hearing their response and hearing how they would tackle that sort of potential career move in the future, because I think it would be really helpful to you in making your decision. And it's just good to know. It's good to know, can I have this freedom to grow and develop a brand elsewhere as we move along?
Well, and just what are somebody's thoughts?
Yeah.
If this person's going to be my business partner, what are their thoughts on it?
Yep.
Just so that even if I go with this agent, I know what they might be thinking if I bring up this subject again and I'm not surprised. I don't have expectations that may not match theirs.
And you're not surprising them too.
Yes.
Yep. Really quickly, if you're writing picture books, all of what we just said about writing different genres and age groups applies. But if you're querying multiple, I found that it's common to query multiple books because we create a submission package, which is a package of 3 to 4 manuscripts, and authors are known to target what they would lead that package with, which of their 4 manuscripts they lead that package with to any particular agent. So if you have one book in there that's STEM nonfiction, you might just think, oh, James would really love this. I'm going to lead with that one to try and capture his eye.
Yeah.
That's very common. I think that's totally okay.
I think it's totally different too.
Yes. So I would
In
say,
many ways, I think it's different than everything else we discussed.
yeah, I would say approach each submission package the way you would a book if you were writing a novel.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. So anyway, we hope this was helpful. As I said, bookmark this. I don't ever want to have this conversation
We
again.
will not. We will not. We will not.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you back here next time.
Bye.